adequate public
Also,
transit.
with the inauguration
By the way,
of President
speaking
Trump,
of
the
Japan,
momentum
we're gonna
for
start off
Japanese
with
companies to invest in the United States is growing
this.
even stronger.
Japanese Prime Minister is
Today,
here.
I conveyed my willingness to cooperate together to elevate Japan's
Shigeru
investment
Ishiba
in the United States
today doing a
to
press
an
conference. Right
unprecedented
after I came
amount
back,
of
he came back too.
$1 trillion. President Trump and myself also concurred to elevate the Japan-U.S. partnership to an even higher level through improving business environment and increasing bilateral investment and employment, strengthening each other's industries, leading the world in developing
We flew
advanced
together.
technologies such as AI and leading-edge semiconductors, and strongly promoting efforts to harness the energy of the growing market in the
Is he going to give us trains? He's not going to give us anything. What do you mean? Is he going to give us trains? He has no power. He has no motion. He has no juice.
Cooperate to strengthen energy security between the two
They are the junior partner in this coalition. All right, I got to blast off.
Of United States liquefied natural gas to Japan.
Bill
in a
Morrigar,
mutually
thank you for the
beneficial
50
manner.
big ones.
Regarding foreign exchange, as in the first Trump administration, close discussions will continue between Japanese and the U.S. finance ministers who are experts in this field.
We also held candid discussions on challenges the Indo-Pacific region is facing. We confirmed that we are resolved not to allow unilateral attempts to change the status quo by force or coercion, and to oppose such attempts in the East and South China Seas in order to fully defend a free and open Indo-Pacific.
Trump did a 10-minute rant about California high-speed rail and said he would try to stop it ASAP. Bro does not like trains. Yeah, I got the yay crash out as well. Hold on, Freaky Friday.
Please continue to age. I conveyed my strong sense of urgency and determination directly to President Trump and gained his renewed strong support for the immediate resolution of the abductions issue. While this was my first face-to-face meeting with President Trump, we were able to openly and frankly exchange views.
Do we have
our meeting turned out
do we have
to
a
be
blast
very
off
productive and meaningful. As a result of today's meeting, which marked a new departure for the Japan-U.S. relations, we are issuing a Japan-U.S. Joint Leader Statement. This document will serve as a compass for further cooperation between our two countries. On the basis of these deliverables,
I just used the Prime Minister's
I look forward to working together with President Trump,
glaze fit
who I respect immensely,
as a
to
blast
usher
off.
in a new golden age of Japan-U.S. relations.
He's so scared, by the way.
I look forward to welcoming you to Japan.
From what I understand, the Japanese politics is like Japanese politicians are absolutely terrified. They are so worried about Donald Trump basically exploding all different kinds of trade, which is understandable.
I love Donald Trump as much as a straight man can love another man. What does the First Lady think about that?
Oh, I think she'll be okay with it somehow.
I'm trying to defend you in TikTok comments right now. I don't know how you do this every day. Keep up the good fight, soldier.
Engineers have access to these treasuries heinous.
The truth is the greatest answer to all defamation.
They're saying that these systems are used to disperse trillions of dollars each year and contain everyday Americans.
That was the question Trump was just asked. What does Melania think about this? I love real Donald Trump as much as a straight man can love another man. Yeah, I saw this.
I mean, we don't have very good security in our country, and they get it very easily. And what we're doing, if you look at what has just taken place with respect to some of the investments that have been made on another agency that people have been talking about for years, but nobody did anything about it, it's absolutely obscene, dangerous, bad, very costly. I mean, virtually every investment made is a con job. There's nothing of value to anybody unless there's a kickback scheme going on, which is possible.
Having foreign leaders sit through Donald Trump's ramblings about how like foreign aid organizations are actually doing a con because they're, paying to make people more woke and gay or whatever Donald Trump thinks is happening is so funny.
We're talking about trillions of dollars. It will be, in the end, trillions of dollars.
Trump just misses the GOAT.
Illegally, I would say.
He misses Shinzo Abe. That's what it is.
Perhaps illegally overall. And I'm very proud of the job that this group of young people, generally young people, but very smart people, they're doing. They're doing it at my insistence. It would be a lot easier not to do it. But we have to take some of these things apart to find the corruption. And we found tremendous corruption.
Anne.
Department of Education, what do you think when you saw Democratic lawmakers trying to get into the Department of Education earlier today?
Well, I see the same ones. I see Maxine Waters, a lowlife. I see, all these people. They don't love our country. They don't love our country. We want great education. So they rank 40 countries in education. We're ranked dead last. But the good news is we're number one in one category. You know what that is? Cost per pupil. We spend more per pupil than any other country in the world. You look at Norway, Denmark, Sweden, various countries all up and down.
Cost per pupil.
Finland. China does very well in education. And then you look at us. We spend much more money than they do per pupil or any other way. But we spend much more money than they do, and yet we're ranked.
There's another one that we're number one at.
Biden's last
We're
year,
number one at another thing.
Joe.
School
we're
shootings.
Dead last.
We're number one at school shootings per pupil and in totality too.
Choice, but beyond choice, long beyond choice, I want to see it go back to the states where great states that do so well have no debt. They're operated brilliantly. They'll be as good as Norway or Denmark or Sweden or any of the other highly ranked countries. They'll be. You probably have 35 to 38 states will be right at the top. And the rest will come along. They'll have to come along competitively. And by the way, we'll be spending a lot less money. And we'll have great education.
As part of this DOGE talks about the cutting effort, one of the DOGE engineers was fired for some inappropriate posts. The vice president says, bring him back. What do you say?
Well, I don't know about the particular thing, but if the vice president said that, did you say that? I'm with the vice president. Thank you, Peter. Yeah, go ahead, please. Yes, red dress.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Just how strong do you want Japan's military to be? And do you specifically hope that their increased military spending will deter China and North Korea? What did you talk about that today?
Well, I want our military to be the strongest. I also
no, not your
don't mind
military.
spending so much money.
She's asking about the Japanese military. Also, that's like a child. Who is that person from? What organization is that journalist from? Because that was a question that was like a elementary student. Huh? Kapıda paket var büyük.
Strongest military by far. We have great people.
Was that like OAN or what was that? Was that the influencer?
Having gone through the gauntlet, he went through a lot, but he got through, and he's going to be a tremendous.
She was like, "Hello, Mr. President. Don't you think it would be sick if Japan had a big military? And is it because you want them to fight back against North Korea and China? It's like, yeah, that's the entire principle for beefing up Japanese self-defense, okay, which is unconstitutional, as we found, as we investigated further with the JCP stream.
Go ahead.
America meeting with Japan after you come back, your influence is getting ridiculous, dude.
This is Hiramoto from Nippon Television. My question, let me ask two quick questions.
Sure.
First, this is the first meeting between Mr. President and Prime Minister Ishiba. So what kind of impression do you have on him? And number two, do you have an idea or do you have a plan to impose tariff against Japan so far? Thank you.
I think that he is going to be a great prime minister. I think he's a very strong man, very, very strong. I have great respect for him. I've known him for a long time through a reputation. Shinzo Abe thought the world of him, and I think he's going to do a fantastic job as prime minister. A very strong person. I wish he wasn't so strong. I wish he was a little bit weaker than that, but That's what I got. I have to get strong guys all the time. He's going to be a great prime minister. I also, in terms of tariffs, I mean, we're going to have tariffs, mostly reciprocal tariffs, where we
He
go
loves
with, and I'm gonna
Shinzo,
be
dude.
probably meeting
Shinzo
on that,
Abe.
Monday or Tuesday, have an announcement, probably a news conference.
This one looks
but
just
probably
like him.
reciprocal tariffs where a
Liberals
country
say that's
pays
racist.
so much or charges us so much, and we do the same. So very reciprocal, because I think that's the only fair way.
They
to do
brought
it.
a new
That way
one for me.
Nobody's hurt.
Hopefully,
They
you
charge
protect
us,
your
we charge
six.
them. It's the same thing, and I seem to be going in that line as opposed to a flat fee tariff. Okay. Yes, go, please. Please, go ahead. Why don't you go ahead?
This is Ota from Yomiuri Shimbun newspaper. I have a question for
Where's
Prime Minister
Akahata?
Ishiba. So this is your very first summit meeting. What was your impression of President Trump? Were you able to build a good relationship of trust and confidence? In Northeast Asia, there are many challenges, China, North Korea, and so forth. And with President Trump, what did you appeal to him, and what kind of understanding were
Ren
you able to
940,
obtain?
thank you for
On
the 20
economic
gifted
field,
subs.
there is the acquisition of U.S. Steel, the buy Nippon Steel, and there are expansion of import of LNG. What were the
Why
communication
no tariffs against
discussion did you
Japan?
have with President
Because
Trump?
he loves Shinzo.
For the $1 trillion of investment from Japan to investment, what was his reaction? What about your communication on tariff front? This is the first time that I met with President Trump in person. So this was the first time meeting face to face. But for many, many years, I have watched him on television. So it was quite I was so excited to see such a celebrity on television, to see in person. On television, he is frightening, and he has a very strong personality.
What the fuck?
But when I met with him, actually, he was very sincere and very powerful and with strong will for the United States as for the whole world.
Bro.
I was able to
This
feel
has been
that.
this was the Shinzo method as well,
This
which is like aggressively
not the
glaze
sort of
Donald Trump
polishing,
and be
or
one of the
trying
only
to
like world
suck up
leaders
to
that will
him
stand by his
for
side
the world
and hope that he
peace
doesn't
and for
roll
the
over your
regional
country.
stability that both of our countries need to play our role.
So he's
and
following the
make
Shinzo
our
method.
endeavors and responsibility. As for the increase of our defense expenditures, it is not that we are told by the United States to do so. Japan, on our own decision, and on our own responsibility, we need to increase our defense expenditures. But of course, we need to communicate and consult with the United States. But the responsibility is with Japan, and the decision is with Japan. Now, on the tariffs, that if it is mutually beneficial, tariffs need to be set. And as for Japan, as Mr. President has introduced to us, an unprecedented investment will be made from Japan to the United States, and so many jobs will be created. So $1 trillion is the target. And this will be to the benefit of the United States, but also to the benefit of Japan as well. Investment is mutually beneficial. So be it
What's
with
happening?
US
Are you
Steel,
lagging or is it me?
as
Am I
Mr.
lagging?
President says, it is not acquisition, it is investment. So the Japanese technology will be provided, and the better quality products will be manufactured in the United States, and the U.S.
Your
Steel
audio is
will
out of
make
sync?
products which
Audio
will contribute
stutter?
not only to the United States and Japan, but also to the whole world. It is not one-sided. It will be reciprocal. It will be mutually beneficial. And I believe we were able to share on this, and that is the biggest result that I have seen today.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, please. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. President. Edward Lawrence from Fox Business. I wanted to ask you about that U.S. Steel deal. So you're saying that is this a restructuring of the deal that's happening, and then will you approve?
They're doing it as an investment, no longer a purchase.
Okay.
I didn't want it
Rand
purchased,
940. Thank you for the
investment
10
I love.
gifted.
And they're going to do a big investment, subject to getting the deal done.
Fluky. Thank you for the 20 gifted.
Where the
I'm
US
okay with that, sure.
And for the Prime Minister, what was your argument to the President?
They're
related to
literally
US
like,
Steel
yo,
and
we will
removal of
invest so
tariffs?
much. We will invest a lot of money into the country. Please,
You said
please
on
don't
tariffs
roll
that
over
you'd
us
like
with
them to
global
have
trade.
reciprocal back and forth. What was the reception from
Please,
the
no
Japanese
matter
Prime
what.
Minister when you said that, or when you talked
Well,
about
we
it?
didn't discuss tariffs too much. We really discussed many other things, including the pipeline in Alaska, which I think is going to be maybe the most exciting thing with Doug and Chris. We discussed that at length, the pipeline. I mean, it seemed to be of great interest to them. It's,
Did I do
we
some
have
lobbying for Trump while I was out there?
potentially,
Yeah.
More oil and gas than in Saudi Arabia, just in
Chat.
Alaska. We have
It's time to tell you the truth.
country in the world. It's a big asset for the United States.
I'm actually a part of the USAID.
We go to Venezuela, we go to
I'm a
Mexico,
USAID
big oil
recipient.
and gas, and we
I've
have
been working for Donald Trump.
more than anybody.
I
It's
actually
an
went to
amazing
Japan
phenomenon that took place
for
over the last few years.
on a national prosperity and friendship tour.
Were in charge of it. They had no clue what they were doing.
It's time to come clean.
Big problem.
I went to Japan with one purpose, and that was to ensure our partners in trade
Sell 'em LNG.
that
They wouldn't
their
sell
security
them.
was
They wanted to buy
of our
LNG.
utmost importance, and that they will play a very significant role as the bulwark against Chinese communism.
Environment. You might answer that question. He's
Yeah.
curious about that himself, I think.
I'm actually not only a liberal, but a liberal of the highest order, a Fed.
If you want to answer that, you may, about LNG, that the United States wouldn't sell you LNG.
The highest stage of liberalism is when you're a CIA member, when you're a part of the State Department,
That
and that's
was
what I
a
am.
really unfortunate thing, but the current administration, I'm sorry, the previous administration was not allowing the LNG to be exported to us. I believe that President Trump, on the day of his inauguration, allowed us to resume this importing. I think this is something that is really wonderful for us. And as the country of Japan, we are interested in importing not just LNG, but also bioethanol, ammonia, and other resources at a stable price.
Listen, the only people that work for the State Department or are federal agents, or at least federal agent contractors, that criticize Israel as much as I do, are the ones who are overtly and openly anti-Semitic. Okay? That's it. Those are the only voices that are allowed for some obvious reasons. If you are not anti-Semitic, and as a matter of fact, aggressively against anti-Semitism and also simultaneously anti-Israel, you are the biggest threat. Because if you're an anti-Semite and you say fucked up shit about Jews and then turn around and say you also hate Israel, that's great. That's a great propaganda opportunity. You can go back and say, look, these guys hate Israel because they're anti-Semitic. Okay? If you are, on the other hand, someone who routinely combats anti-Semitism and simultaneously, from an empathetic point of view, are in support of Palestinian emancipation, well, then you're a real threat. You're a real danger.
Right up in the front of the line. Yeah, go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Mr. Prime Minister, I have a question for you as well, but Mr. President, I'll start with you. Quickly to follow up on what Peter was asking, have you directed Elon Musk to review Pentagon spending, given it's the biggest discretionary spending
Yes, I
in the
have
federal
Pentagon,
budget?
education, just about everything. We're going to go through everything, just as it was so bad with what we just went through with this horrible situation we just went through. And I guess 97% of the people have been dismissed. It was very, very unfortunate. You're not going to find anything like that, but you're going to find a lot. And I've instructed him to go check out education, to check out the Pentagon, which is the military. And, sadly, you'll find some things that are pretty bad. But I don't think proportionally you're going to see anything like we just saw.
FBI has turned over a list to the Justice Department of the FBI agents who worked on the January 6 rioters cases. Are you planning to fire the FBI agents who worked on those investigations?
No, but I'll fire some of them because some of them were corrupt. I have no doubt about that. I got to know a lot about that business, that world.
Rand
I got to know a
940
lot about
with
that
another
world, and
10.
We had some corrupt agents, and those people are gone, or they will be gone, and it'll be done quickly and very surgically. Did you have a question for the Prime Minister? Talk up.
Are those the ones who worked on the January 6th?
I don't know. I don't know. I know we have some that are very corrupt and we don't like it. We're going to bring back the reputation of the FBI. Kash Patel is going to do a great job, and we're going to bring back the reputation of the FBI, which has been hurt very badly. It's been devastated over the last 4 years.
You have just been meeting for the first time with President Trump. The last administration famously did not have hardly any, if at all, contact with North Korea. President Trump certainly did the last time he was in office. Would you like to see him resume that contact and also that in-person meeting that he had with the North Korean leader, Kim Jong-un?
That is something that the United States needs to determine on its own, and it's not something that we should request. Having said that, but for example, in Vietnam or Singapore, the President of the United States.
Do you have to be a moronic idiot to be on Trump's cabinet? Yes. The dumber you are, the better it is. But most importantly, you have to be a loyal idiot. Okay?
So now that President Trump is
I
in
think
power
being a
again,
smart loyalist is a problem.
if we are able to
Because
move towards
if you're a smart loyalist, there are going to be instances where, you know, I'm skipping this press conference, by the way, because it's boring. Even I'm not that big of a weeb. All right, it's the most expected press conference of all time. Obviously, Shigeru Ishiba, and I've been following this on the Japanese news side. The entire Japanese foreign policy or American relationship hinges on how hard you can glaze Trump. It's the Shinzo Abe method. This is something that Japanese news media has talked about quite frequently during Shinzo Abe's reign as well, where there's this one famous photo of all the world leaders that are like kind of trying to dominate Donald Trump, and he's just sitting there like this with a smug face and Shinzo Abe is actually the only world leader that is copying Trump, also crossing his arms. That is a picture that in Japanese news was basically a summary of how Shinzo Abe chose to deal with Donald Trump, and that is precisely what they're going to continue doing. That's what the LDP is going to continue to do. I think this is not a very here it is. This is not a very interesting relationship. Like, I don't think that. Yeah, as you can see right here, this was the photo that summarizes like the Japanese relationship with Donald Trump the first time around. Obviously, Shinzo is now dead. He was assassinated, but they've always had a fairly solid relationship because of this, and this is what the Japanese hopes are, that they don't get destroyed like Canada or whatever, right? Or even threatened like Canada, even if Canada is not getting destroyed and there's a pause put on the tariffs. So it's an uninteresting relationship overall. I think what is infinitely more interesting is what Donald Trump will do with South Korea. Because as you guys know, just wondering, but is this camera angle temporary? I like it, but not sure if it's about to go back to the usual one. Dude, I think this is one of the only negative aspects of streaming on Twitch with a neurodivergent audience, is that like you just don't care about anything that's going on. This is the real camera angle, and I will, once I fix the camera angle and fix the autofocus and fix the lighting, this is the camera angle I'm going to go back to, okay? But for the time being, enjoy Kaya. Anyway, as I was saying, I think the real interesting relationship, the real interesting dynamic will be with South Korea. Why? Because South Korea is a place where there is a lot of instability. The LDP's power and influence has diminished over the past couple of decades, and it's pretty significant because, for the most part, Japan has been a one-party rule leadership, even though there's a lower house and upper house, there's a theoretical democracy, but ultimately it's mostly just the one party that has dominated the country's politics in perpetuity post-World War II. Having said that, however, despite its influence diminishing a little bit, LDP's influence diminishing a little bit, what's really interesting is South Korea. South Korea has real instability right now. There was a martial law and a false coup that failed. And Donald Trump's relationship with South Korea has also always been interesting. Is the audio still not synchronized? If it's not synchronized, it's on your end. You might have to refresh. Okay, you are a fucking racist as fuck. Team Asiad? What? Oh, is it because you wrote in Arabic and it auto-tagged Fawzabot? Yeah. Sorry, Team Asiad. You can't write in Arabic. The reason why, or any other languages really, and the reason why is because, you know, I don't speak either of those languages, so I can't moderate adequately. You are not in sync. If I am not in sync, it might be because you need to refresh, like I said. What is this? Your ops got no motion? What? Dude, come on. Please stop. Even as a joke, I don't want to see what Ethan is doing, okay? I'm over here trying to explain foreign policy. It's unironically desynced and refreshing does not fix it. Okay, I don't know. I don't know. I give up. I'm sorry. Anyway. What Donald Trump will do with South Korea and North Korea will be more interesting than Japan. Japan is going to be business as usual. Offer them defense contracts, beef up their army, even though it's unconstitutional. Okay? And that's it.
非常にこの件に関してもこれから私たちが取り組む予定でありますけれども、特に自動車工場というものは素晴らしいものになると思います。米国への投資が進み、自動車を米国で作るということ、これは非常に良いビジネスになると思います。多くの国々からこういった投資がありますけれども、これはひとえに米国の税制があるからだと思います。ですので、こういった業務というものはこれからもどんどん進んでいくことを期待します。トヨタ市ですけれども、
Can you translate us on? No.
あります。
Any other things?
To what extent will you discuss North Korea today, sir?
That'll always be a topic, especially with Japan. We will be discussing North Korea and many other things. We'll be spending pretty much the day, but that's always a topic.
I gotta pee.
Have you changed your mind about the sale of U.S. steel?
No, I think we're going to be discussing that today. No, I haven't, and I hear we'll have some pretty good information on that. You might want to go, please.
Tariffs an option, Mr. President?
Have you? Okay.
President, are tariffs an option if the deficit doesn't get to equilibrium or to equality?
Yes, they are. Yes.
Mr. President, can you discuss what your plan is for reciprocal trade? Are you signing an EO on that today?
I'll be announcing that next week, reciprocal trade, so that we're treated evenly with other countries. We don't want any more or any less. So I'll be announcing that next week. And many other things having to do not even with trade, but other things. But I'll be talking about reciprocal trade sometime next week. We'll have a news conference and we'll lay it out. Pretty simple.
Every single country?
It affects everybody, yeah. Reciprocal, yeah. We'll be talking about that next week.
伺いたいんですけれども、今関税を課すっていう話になってるんですけど、関税が課されることについてはどのように考えていらっしゃいますか？
お互いにそれが利益になるようにということが重要なことだと思っております。合衆国の発展、そして日本国の発展、そのために有益な制度となることを期待をしておりまして、具体的なことについてはまだこれからということになります。
I understand that the key point in this regard is to make that for mutually beneficial. That means that would benefit the development of the United States as well as the development of Japan. And I do hope that whatever measures and actions should meet this criteria, meaning that serving the interest of both countries. But as to specifics, I understand that we are going to have further discussion.
Correct.
Mr. President, are there any specific concessions that you will be asking for from Japan that you can share?
But we'll be having, I think it'll be very easy for Japan. We have a fantastic relationship. I don't think we'll have any problem whatsoever. They want fairness also.
それはうまく進むと思います。日本は素晴らしいパートナーですし、彼らもことがスムーズに進むことを期待していると思います。これは双方にとってです。
Mr. President, do you have a reaction to the new Time magazine cover that has Elon Musk sitting behind
Drama.
your resolute desk?
タイムマガジンにイーロン・マスクが
He
大統
doesn't
領の
like
机
it.
の後ろで
No,
座って
don't
写真が
translate that. Don't translate that. That's embarrassing. He does not like it. That's the type of stuff. That's the type of stuff that actually does get to Trump. Like, yeah, sure, it's silliness, but Trump is silly. That's it. That is exactly the type of stuff that Donald Trump actively gets annoyed by.
ありますけども、それに関するコメントは何かありますか？
Is Time magazine still in business? I didn't even know that.
まだタイムマガジンは廃刊じゃないんですか？
Elon is doing a great job.
Yeah, they're like forcing themselves to laugh at this. They're like, ah ha ha ha, you are so funny. You are so funny, Mr. President. Yeah, we also hate Time magazine. It's like, bro, you're Japanese. What are you talking about? Why would you ever care about, fake news media and Time magazine?
He's finding tremendous fraud and corruption and waste. You see it with the USAID, but you're going to see it even more so with other agencies and other parts of government. He's got a staff that's fantastic. He's wanted to be able to do this for a long time, and everybody else knew it was existent, but I think never so much. When you look at USAID, that's a fraud. The whole thing is a fraud. Very little being put to good use. Every single line that I look at in terms of events and transactions is either corrupt or ridiculous. And we're going to be doing that throughout government. And I think we're going to be very close to balancing budgets for the first time in many years. I think we're going to be very close to, in addition to monies coming in from tariffs, et cetera, but he's doing a very good job. I'm very happy with it.
Will you put Elon Musk up on the podium for us to ask him some questions, Mr. President, at any point? Will you put Elon Musk up on the podium for us to ask him some questions?
Oh, sure. He's not shy. Elon's not shy.
Any further deliberations on Gaza, sir? The timetable for a takeover?
No deliberations. It's been very well received, where basically the United States would view it as a real estate transaction, where we'll be an investor in that part of the world. and no rush to do anything. We wouldn't need anybody there. It would be supplied and given to us by Israel. They'll watch it in terms of security. We're not talking about boots in the ground or anything, but I think the fact that we're there, that we have an investment there, I think would go a long way to creating peace. We don't want to see everybody move back and then move out in 10 years. This has been going on for 50 years, much more than that. We just want to see stability. That would be having us have that particular piece in that particular location, I think would show great stability and would lead to great stability in the area for very little money, very little price, and we wouldn't need soldiers at all. That will be taken care of by others. And the investments are taken care of by others also. So for no investment, I mean virtually no investment whatsoever, it would bring stability to the area, and others can invest in it later on. But we're in no rush on it. There's absolutely no rush.
President Trump, do you believe DeepSeek is a national security threat, and how do you plan to collaborate on AI initiatives?
On where?
DeepSeek, do you believe it's a national security threat?
No, I think it's happening. I mean, it's a technology that's happening. It's actually, I think we're going to benefit if it's correct what's going on now, that it'll be a lot less expensive. The AI we're talking about will be a lot less expensive than people originally thought. That's a good thing. I view that as a very good development, not a bad development.
Mr. President, on autos specifically, in your first term, you tried to tariff autos. Is that on the table still? Are you trying to do that in your second administration?
Auto tariff?
Auto tariff?
Oh, yeah, sure. That's on the table. That's always on the table. It's a very big deal. Because we are, we have cases where we don't supply autos and other countries do, and we have to equalize it. We have to stabilize it and equalize it.
Will you have Vice President Vance meet with President Zelensky next week while he's in Europe?
I will probably be meeting with President Zelensky next week, and I will probably.
The amount of glaze that he offers to China is weirding me out. He even mentions that China's education is fantastic, which is odd because that's like a thing that you normally wouldn't hear from an American politician, even though it's the truth, right? Usually, at best, Democrats will glaze like Nordic style social democracies or whatever in terms of social safety nets. I don't ever hear from even the Democrats in terms of like what China is doing that is good. Especially odd considering that he is the #1 China hawk and he just regularly will glaze China and is also undermining a bunch of State Department cutouts like USAID. I don't understand it. I will readily admit, I suspect that it's because they want to, like I said, centralize USAID and stop with soft power and only go after hard power initiatives and just try to like bully countries rather than like offer any aid whatsoever. But it truly doesn't make sense.
To President Putin, I'd like to see that war end for one primary reason. They're killing so many people. You're losing millions of people on a battlefield. In this case, mostly the battlefield. You have 800,000 or 900,000 Russian soldiers are dead and very badly wounded. And the same thing with Ukraine. You have probably 700,000 with Ukraine. The numbers they gave are a little bit lower than that, but I believe those numbers aren't correct. I'd like to see it end just on a human basis. It's terrible what's going on. They have open fields with no protection. The only thing a bullet can hit is a human body, and the human body dies as soon as it gets hit. Now, I'd like to see that end. It's a ridiculous war. It would have never started if I were president. That war would have never started. Putin would not have started that war if I were president. And by the way, you wouldn't have had October 7th if I was president either. That mess would not have started. But no, I would very much like to help out. One of the things we're looking at with President Zelensky is having the security of their assets. They have assets underground, rare earth and other things, but primarily rare earth. And we want to have security. Really, we want security because, as you know, Europe is putting up.
Again, quiet part, but out loud. He's like, yeah, we want their rare earth minerals. We must secure them. Like, and it's not, I don't think it's rare earth minerals in general for Ukraine, but it's still like state-owned assets. I'm sure that there's like some mining contracts that they could get out of it too, but it's virtually every single state-owned asset or every single asset sold off to foreign investors. It's just like when he said, "Oh, we're pulling out of Syria, but also we're maintaining security over the oil rigs." That's it. Or when he basically said, "Who's going to buy these weapons? If we don't sell billions of dollars of weapons to Saudi Arabia, someone else will. Do you have $1 billion that you want to give me for weapons?" Donald Trump is a very frustrating figure for a lot of Americans because he does have a tendency to say the quiet part out loud and never really shelter from the truth, never really try to massage his takes to ensure that there is some semblance of defending the international rule-based order. Now, ironically enough, there is no difference between the modus operandi of Donald Trump and previous administrations in that regard. There are some exceptions to this rule, of course, but ultimately, it's just the difference. The major difference is like aesthetically, he just very openly states what he wants. He won't masquerade and say, "Oh, we must protect Ukraine because Ukraine is gay and woke or whatever," right? He won't say that. He'll just be like, "Yeah, we want mining contracts. We want their natural resources." That's it. Ukraine is not that gay. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether it's true or not. I'm just making an exaggerated example of like the ways in which liberals oftentimes will try to offer additional context to why they're doing something in a way that liberals will be on board with, okay? And the reality of the matter is people don't respond positively to that because when they are faced with the indecency, when they're faced with the cruel actions of the American state, they're like, "Oh, but I don't like that because it doesn't make me feel good." Right? That's it. Why is Hasan audio so delayed? I don't know. For some people, I'm still delayed, it seems. But for others, I'm not. So I don't know what's going on, honestly. I can't tell if people are memeing or not.
Much less money than us. Much. NATO, Europe, call it whatever you want. And we're at probably 300 billion plus, and they're at probably, the real number is 100 billion. That's a lot.
Do you want to do this real quick and see if it fixes I checked off on properties on my desktop audio. I checked off use device. Yeah, I don't think I have that right now. Like, I don't think it's... Yeah, it's not. It's not. Device timestamps is not on right now. So I don't know why there's a delay. Timestamps. Toggle it, see if it fixes it. No, it'll actually make it worse if I... Here, I did use device timestamps. Let's see if it worked. It's probably going to be worse now.
A lot of money, but it's 200 billion less than us, and there's an ocean in between. And they need it more than us, so we're asking them to equalize and get even. But we're also asking President Zelensky for...
It's worse now. Yeah, the video is probably worse. The desktop audio is worse. All right, I fixed it. Seems like a Twitch issue. I had to refresh and it started lagging. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I can try to fix the ingest again. 1 second. You'll see a brief blip. There'll be a brief moment of effing. Let's see. We're back. Is it better? Why does everybody say F? I know. You don't have to refresh. I'm changing the ingest. God damn, everybody's complaining about the F. There's no F. It's not a F. I did it on purpose.
The security of, we're putting all this money up and we're saying, where does it stop? And yet we want to see it out to an end. We want to see it end. But we are going to be asking for the security, and we've already told him, of an equal amount of something where our money, the American taxpayers in for $300 billion. Biden never negotiated. He never told Europe to put in more money. And it got out of hand, just like NATO.
Rando,
NATO,
with another 10
we were
gift
paying
subs.
almost 100% of NATO when I first came in. Everybody was taking advantage of the good old United States, but not anymore. So what, and now, if you speak to the Secretary General of NATO, who was very nice when he was here 2 weeks ago, he said what Trump did was amazing. He got everybody to pay. And to do that, you have to ask. And Biden never asked. So we're in for probably close to $200 billion more than Europe. And yet, obviously, it affects Europe much more than us. So we would like them to to equalize. They have to go more. And from our standpoint, we do want security and all this money that we're putting up.
And you're speaking with him next week, sir? Is that what you said?
He may meet next week, yeah. Whenever he'd like. I'm here. I'm here. Could be Washington. Well, I'm not going there.
Are you planning to meet with President Putin, or are you just planning
It could
a
be.
phone call?
It could be. We've always had a good relationship. President Putin and I have always had a good relationship. That's why it's so sad that it happened. This would have never happened if I were president.
So
it's so
sad.
sad to see it happen. So many dead people. By the way, so many cities are demolished. They're like, you talk about Gaza? Well, take a look at Ukraine. So many of those cities are demolition sites. Demolished. So sad. Should have never happened. All those beautiful golden domes, but much more importantly, all those beautiful people are dead. And it should have never happened. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Brad. Go, guys.
Ukraine is so flat. The only thing stopping a bullet is a
President
person's
Trump.
body. All right. Update. After Trump just said he agrees with JD, Elon says his Nazi staffer is now